My dream trip! It was an old banger that started the whole scene. Let me tell you, it wasn't my old car. It was an old pile that my buddy scraped up from somewhere, and he put some effort into getting it running by working on the cheap. Working on the cheap meant borrowing my mechanic skills to help him out. I told him when I first saw the car that he was an idiot. I'm not sure what that makes me because I helped him anyway. The day came when we finally got it running. You'll notice I say running, not roadworthy. Despite this, my friend insisted that we take her for a test drive. My only stipulation was that we had to drive it very quietly out of town. Once outside of town, we could try her out on some of the old dirt roads. It actually ran pretty well, which I took as proof of my mechanical skills. The problem arose when we pulled onto this nice long stretch of highway and my buddy stepped on the gas. We must have been going about 50 kilometers per hour when the drive shaft broke. Now you are being carried down the road and your drive shaft breaks. If you are lucky, there is a click and you are just traveling in neutral, slowing to a complete stop. If you're unlucky, there's a click, followed by a thud, and you're driving along with the rear of the drive shaft dragging on the road, making it unbearable to drive the whole car until everything comes to a stop. We were unlucky in this as well. We were catastrophically unlucky. There was the crack of the drive shaft breaking, followed by a thud as the front of the drive shaft hit the ground. Have you ever seen a pole vaulter in action? They run, hit the ground with the pole, and their forward motion is followed by an upward motion. It's the same with us. We were making good speed, and the front of the drive shaft hit the ground and slammed into the ground, and our forward motion turned into an upward motion as the rear of the car tried to do a pole vault. Where the rear of the car goes, the front of the car goes too. Sometimes they go in front, and sometimes they weave behind. When the back of the car went up at 50 kilometers per hour, the same thing happened to the front of the car, even though we were a little behind. The whole car made a huge jump and collapsed back to the ground. We didn't even budge. All of our momentum had gone into that upward leap, and that speed was lost when gravity took over. We were a little shaken, and I guess you could call it that. Not an experience I'd want to go through again. I would have loved to see it from the outside, with camera in hand. What a great shot that would have been. We got out of this old wreck and just stood there looking at it. It was clear that the poor old bomb wasn't going anywhere on its own. Ever. If it had been a horse, we would have shot it. If I had a gun, I'd probably shoot my idiot buddy. Instead, we shrugged, turned around, and headed down the dusty road, heading for a normal road and a chance for a hitchhiker. My buddy was in charge of the remains. I'm pretty sure he would have taken steps to dislodge the Hulk. He'd already started by removing the license plates and taking them with him as we left. He'll pick up the rest when it suits him. Upon reaching the main road, we split up. His house was to the north and mine was to the south. We could both hitchhike to Mike's house, but then he would have to drive me home. It seemed faster for me to just head in my own direction and probably easier for me to get a ride. People who would stop for a lone hitchhiker might refuse to pick up a couple. I had only been on the road for about 5 minutes when a bus pulled up and offered me a ride. It wasn't a regular bus, but a private charter flight. It had a banner on the side announcing that they were a branch of the CWA in some town. That's the Country Women's Association. Seeing the banner, I remembered that CWA was having a grand event at a fairgrounds near my town. I jumped on the bus and took a seat. There were about a dozen women on board, plus the driver, also a woman. The women ranged from a cute little brunette in her 20s to an old woman with a pointed face in her 50s. The petite brunette was quite appetizing. The old pointy-faced woman looked like she could scare off the Wicked Witch of the West. The old sharp-faced woman quickly proved that looks are deceiving. My height is just over 180 centimeters, and I'm broad-boned. I also have some pretty solid meat hanging off my large bones, abundantly backed by some muscle. The roar of car and truck engines can put you in motion pretty quickly, even with all the mechanical aids available. "God, you're a nice big guy," said the old pepperbox. "I'm Paula, Who are you and what do you do? My name is Ron, I said, and I'm a mechanic. Not a good option if you have to hitchhike, said Paula. I laughed and told the story of our broken drive shaft. I have a way with words when I want to, and I amused them with my little misadventure. Then Paula spoke again. You're a fine big fellow. You've got a little bit of malice on you. I wouldn't mind seeing you more often. What do you say, girls? Would you like to see this wonderful young man again? Naive little me didn't quite understand what she meant. All the other women knew Paula, and they all knew exactly what she meant. There was a chorus of giggles and general agreement. I didn't notice any dissenters, although the little brunette blushed. I'll tell you what, Paula said, turning to me again. We'll raise a small amount of money for you, and you can show us your beautiful body. What do you say? What I say is that you must be fucking kidding me, is what I said. Paula laughed, and her laugh was rather hoarse. And a sense of humor, too, she muttered. I like this guy. No, seriously, boy, that would be funny. We'll probably only raise $50, but hey, 50 is 50, and you'll have something to tell your buddies. She turned and yelled to the bus driver. Hey, Gladys, slow down for a minute and get your ass over here. All the women were looking at me, but it wasn't really lewd looks. It was more a case of good humor as we enjoyed a little bit of mischievous fun. Oh, go on, son, said one woman. Why is this going to hurt? They all started to look expectant, and I thought, what the hell? Why not? It would be wrong to take your money, I said to Paula, but what the hell? Let's just consider it my bus fare. I stood up and slowly undressed, putting on something of a show. God, it was a weird feeling. The women clapped and cheered each other as each thing came off, and finished applauding when my shorts fell down. Now, I wasn't excited. Standing naked in front of a dozen women didn't really mean that much to me. Paula seemed a little frustrated. I don't know, she complained. You can't tell how big a man is when he's in this state. How can we brag and exaggerate what we've seen if he doesn't flex his muscles? Cynthia, help this man. She actually extended her hand to me. One of the women, who looked to be in her late 30s, giggled, took me, and held me close. Like I said, Paula announced, a fine young man. I really think it's only fair that one of us do something to you. The thought of Paula flirting with me almost robbed me of all excitement. Almost. I caught myself looking at the little brunette, who was blushing again, but looking. Paula noticed where I was looking and laughed, still very hoarse-sounding. The boy has taste, she said. Stand up, Sheila. Come on, girl, don't be shy, she added as Sheila blushed and tensed. But I never... Her voice trailed off. What? Never? And you've been married to Ronnie for 3 months? Somebody needs to talk to that man. Come on, girl, get up. I didn't mean that I never... of course. Ronnie and I... You're terribly unfair. Paula laughed again. She seemed to enjoy embarrassing people. We know what you mean, dearie, she said. Don't worry, we won't force you. But seeing that he's interested in you, he should at least take a look at what he may or may not get. Girls, help Sheila. Poor Sheila didn't stand a chance. A couple of middle-aged ladies got up and stripped her very quickly. She struggled a little but didn't want to really fight them. I must say she had a very nice figure, worth a look, and doing other things. I was in the back of the bus. I backed up another step and sat on the edge of the back seat, looking at Sheila. Well, what are you waiting for? Paula hissed in what probably should have been a whisper. Look at your choices. You're all excited. Action. This chance may never come your way again. I noticed she was right. But, I never, other than Ron, I don't... We all got the gist of what she meant. Paula quickly found the loophole. You're forgetting yourself, girl. This gentleman told us earlier that his name was Ron. You can safely pounce on him and you can still say you've never done it, except with Ron. The women were pushing Sheila towards me, not explicitly, just slightly invading her personal space, which made her backpedal toward me. She squeaked fearfully when she found herself pressed against me with her back to me. I just followed Paula's advice. I put my hands on her hips, pulling her closer to me. "Don't worry," I said softly. "It's just me, Ron." She knew well enough who I was, but the soothing voice and familiar name had worked on her, albeit subconsciously. She was naked and aroused. Ron was waiting for her, and the other women were quietly encouraging her. It was easier for her to go along with it than to resist. I started to sit her on my lap. She wasn't looking at me, so she could continue to fool herself. She was married. She knew what that meant. Then she settled on my lap, completely mine. All the women were watching her, but not laughing. No doubt that would come later. They took it calmly, not wanting to frighten her. I knew she was blushing profusely. I could see the redness on the back of her neck. My hands went up and covered her breasts, and I gently pressed against her from bottom to top. Pretty soon, we were making good love. I noticed that Paula had a very smug look on her face. The other women were chatting amongst themselves as they watched the little performance. Sheila, I suspected, had forgotten about our audience and was totally focused on what was happening to her. I, though aware of our audience, was not concerned about them. I concentrated on enjoying my unexpected surprise, intending to enjoy myself and give some to Sheila if I could. From the sounds Sheila was making, I could definitely do that. When we finished, all the ladies were laughing and applauding. I have no way of knowing if any of them achieved any pleasure. With those words, the bus continued on its way. I got dressed and leaned back in my seat, devastated. The women sat Sheila back down in her seat, leaving her, I noticed, naked. There was a wide, satisfied grin on Paula's face. The bus pulled into town and I was dropped off. Paula nudged me with her elbow as I got off the bus. "You did a great job, kid," she told me. "Just what the girl needed. It's going to do her a lot of good." I wondered what it all meant. Sheila came out of her daze after our lovemaking, shrieked quietly and dressed quickly. She was a little embarrassed by some of the teasing, but also quite smug. Hell, I was embarrassed by some of the teasing. These women could be awfully down to earth at times. I met up with Mike the next day and he asked if I'd had any trouble getting home. I assured him that it had not been a problem. "I was picked up by a bus full of women," I told him. "They were adamant that I show the youngest woman how to treat a man. We made love all the way into town. Quite an unusual trip." That asshole didn't believe a word I said. He just laughed at me. "In your dreams, buddy," he told me, "and probably not even there." The end.